Let's go. Game time. The standard is the standard. That's our motto. That's our creed.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Better Baby Daddy podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, John Laxman.
I'm your other co-host, Kelly Burgess.
And today we are sitting down with our good friend, Demeta Snowden. Demeta Snowden has traveled that single parent life for 20 plus years, and she has some great insight, some great stories that she's going to share with us today on the podcast. I'm going to let her explain her story right now.
Hello, guys. My name is Demeta, and I became a single mom. I want to say maybe 20 years ago, maybe 20 plus years ago, like you said, 20 plus years ago, because I got divorced. And so that caused me to be a single mom. You got the floor.
There it is.
There it
Hey,
is.
and it's as simple as that.
Right.
All right. So, Miss Snowden, when you went through that transition, did you notice the impact on your children? Did you notice behaviors that changed? I mean, your children were probably already pretty old by the time that you decided to separate. Is that correct?
Yeah, my children were in middle school, high school.
Okay.
So, yeah, pretty much. So your question was when did I notice that? Say that question one more time. Repeat.
Yeah.
When did I feel like it?
Did you notice a change in their behaviors and their attitudes and their everyday actions when the separation occurred?
Um, Honestly, I didn't notice much change. I think because they were kind of older and I didn't realize they had realized what I was really experiencing through the relationship. So I don't think I've seen many changes at all as far as their behavior. I mean, because academically they were good. They were in sports, so they were pretty busy, but they knew what the relationship was. So I don't think that I noticed any like drastic behavior issues as far as that's concerned, or academically, as far as their grades or anything like that. I don't.
Yeah, so many times as kids, our kids are internalizing things. We're going through stress in a relationship. We think they're taking it one way, but it's really coming out another way. Pre-show, before we started recording, um, communicated about how your daughter spoke to you about her feelings about the divorce when the news finally kind of came down. Can you share about that a little bit?
Oh yeah, she asked me. One of my daughters asked me what took me so long, like to leave, and so she realized everything that I was going through, what I was experiencing. But I also know I think I kind of like shared information that I probably shouldn't have shared. And I can't really say that I shouldn't have shared, but I just feel like instead of making sure they didn't hear certain conversations, they heard certain conversations. Um, do I think that affected some of my kids' relationship with their dad? I know it affected at least one of my kids' relationship with their dad extremely. Because when I hurt, she hurt. You know what I mean? Our kids feel, you know how like as parents we hurt when our kids hurt, but I felt like she was hurting, she felt like I was hurting. So I definitely um, I definitely not saying I guess I would have done that differently, maybe, as far as communicating, allowing her to hear certain things. But even though it was the truth, she would eventually find out as they got older. Um, I also noticed my son one time when they notice things. If I make a comment out like, or he asked me to buy him something, I was like, ask your dad, and he was just like, he's never bought me up anything before. You understand what I'm saying? So how would you even know that? You know what I mean? How would you think that? Because sometimes I probably would have given him the money to buy the shoes. But I learned as I got wiser that my kids definitely knew the things that I was going through, and just through conversations. I don't think it really changed their relationship with the three of them. They still respected that. All of them respected that. The conversation we may have with them, it didn't change their respect level. They never lost respect for the dad. But would they look at him differently? Probably. I think so. Did I think I had a lot to do with that? Probably a lot to do with it, but yeah.
Is there anything you would have done differently? You know, you seem real reflective.
Oh, you want me to be
You,
honest here? Um,
yeah.
as far as being single or communicating or let my kids know what I actually went through. Um,
Yeah, speak to that because it seemed like you know you were reflecting and you said, hey, I probably said some things maybe I shouldn't have said, or maybe I shouldn't have said it to them. Still need to be said, but shouldn't have said it to them. Looking back on your process to, hey, I got to make this decision to leave. Is there something you would have done differently now that you know how your kids kind of took?
As far as leaving, absolutely not. As far as letting them know what, I think that's the best thing I probably could have done. It was one of the hardest decisions I ever made in my life. I tell people all the time, one of the hardest decisions I made. But once I did it, it was the best thing. I think the hardest part was just being by myself, being afraid, thinking I couldn't do it alone. And then once I realized I could do it alone, it wasn't as bad. But the hardest part I realized is that I missed his presence, not so much just him just being present in the just being there. Um, but once I got used to his presence being gone and me being able to do what I already feel like I was doing in the beginning, it was much easier. But I do regret sharing, letting my daughter hear some of the conversations um, that of how my hurt and how I was feeling and expressing that. Maybe I shouldn't have allow her to hear that. So yeah, I wish I wouldn't have done that.
Hmm.
Right. But I
You're
can't even say that they were old enough and mature enough to see things too as well. You understand what I'm saying? So they could see they're smart. They were one of them was in they was in middle school and high school, and one of them had already graduated from school when we actually parted. Two of them was actually out of school, had already parted. So they definitely knew. I just feel like the older two got the best of it all, and I feel like the younger two kinda got the short end of the stick, you know what I mean? Because the older two probably had their mom and dad, and then the younger two didn't have their mom and their dads.
mm. You hear a lot of people talk about, we stay together, we're staying together for the kids, or I'm staying with him, or I'm staying with her for the kids. Do you think that played a role in your marriage lasting as long as it did, or?
Absolutely, absolutely, because I always tell people that, I pick it when I got married, I pictured because my mom and my dad weren't together. They were divorced. So, I always picture I want this happy family with a white picket fence, not so much a white picket fence, but, going on trips together, mom and dad. Yeah, and I think that's a lot of reason why I stayed because I wanted that so bad. That is definitely the reason why I stayed so long because I wanted us to be part. Because a lot of times people say, "You have 4 kids." I'm like, "Yeah, by the same baby daddy." I'm like, "Yes, that was my husband at the time." That's the thing. Now you got kids. Yes, I was married. I wanted that. Then I would see my friends, but their little families and their husband and wives, having a good life, and I wanted that. I yearned for that, but that just wasn't my story. And I felt like I know I don't want to put God into this, but you know how they like the Bible doesn't want you divorced. And I'm like, he don't want me to be this. I struggle with that. Just the thought of divorce, I struggle at the fact that we supposed to be married for life. You understand? We supposed to be together. And I was just like, I didn't want to do that. I'm like, that's a sin. I'm not gonna be forgiven for this. I thought about all that. So that had a huge part of me, staying married so long. But then I had to sit back and think about like, does he want you to be this unhappy? Does he want you to be this miserable? You know what I mean? Because I was just looking at the Bible. I mean, we hear people talk about where you only can get divorced for adultery, or you can, for these different reasons, And I was just like, abuse mentally, shoot, this is mentally affecting me. So that played a huge part of me staying as long as I did. Right. Because I remember when Mary J. Blige came out with her song, I should have left you a long time. 11 that I was feeling that at that exact time. I promise you. Yeah. So I definitely know that's the reason why I stayed as long as I did.
We appreciate your vulnerability. It is not an easy decision to make. I can relate to struggling with the heaviness of the sin of it, or the thoughts of folks in the church, or what you read in the Bible. I can definitely, I've been on that street, so I know you don't enter into those decisions lightly. Can you speak a little bit about you had mentioned your youngest two kids had a different experience than the older two kids,
Right.
and
So
post divorce, did you see them navigate that new family dynamic differently than the older
well, I'd say that like in a financial situation because as far as like graduation and when it was prom time, when they wanted to go for their license and pay for their I didn't have the money. Like I couldn't like I was trying, they had to work to help. Like I think my middle daughter, she helped to pay for her driving school, with my oldest two wouldn't have to do that. Or for prom, they didn't have to worry about finances. Even though I made a way to have it, I just feel like the struggle was struggling because at this time it was just me and my daughters, and I'm trying to, pay bills and make sure they didn't still had the same advantage of going to prom, having the same experiences, graduation. So I just feel like they didn't have to worry about or see me stressing about certain things that I stressed about with them. So in the like in this financial state I'm in.
Mm. So Burgess and I, a lot of times on the podcast, we talk really about that financial part. That
Mhm.
financial part is a major hit.
Right.
Specifically, you're going from two incomes to one income, and that can cause a lot of stress on the family, right?
Correct.
It's never going to get better when you reduce the amount of money coming into a house.
Right.
It simply doesn't. Can you speak a little bit about that financial aspect of things? Like, I know you dove into it a little bit, but did it force you to find a second job? Did it force a reduction in the amount of times that you and your children went on vacation or trips or ate out? What was that like?
Okay, so that is funny that you asked it. So now that you talk about that, that's when I really went back to, because I was doing daycare at first. When we were married, I was doing daycare in my business in my home, and he was working, so I didn't really have to work. That's the reason it forced me to go back out into the work world, because my daycare, it was like recession, and then the parents were like, they had two parents, so one parent would stay home. It was cheaper. So then I felt like as a wife that um as a husband, he should have been able to pick up that slack where I could have still stayed home until the business, you know, got back, start having some more daycare students. But that wasn't my story. So I had to go back into the working world. And then that's when I really realized this is not normal. Like, you know what I mean? I was really like, this is not normal. So I went back into the working world. And then that's when I've been working my part time jobs that I work ever since then. I had one job, then I had a part time job. And I've been working pretty my part time job for like 20 years. I've been working my part time job for 20 years. March made 20 years that I've been there. And so that's the reason why I've been working these two jobs, now three jobs, since we got divorced. But that was one of the main reasons why I picked it up. But I felt like I would have never had done that if he would have stepped up as a father, a husband, a man. But I didn't have that luxury of financial. Even like when we got divorced, I didn't have any. I took care of the kids by myself. I didn't never take him for child support, and I always told myself that I wouldn't do that. And then I regret not doing that? Probably because when my daughter ended up having a kid, she didn't want to do that for her dad, for her baby daddy. And I said, you should do it because I didn't do it and I wish I would have done it.
Mm.
I mean, I'm not saying that nobody wants to do this, but you didn't have him by yourself. Right. So one thing I wish I would have done is went for child support, but I felt like that I shouldn't have to do that. I felt like, these kids were your responsibilities and you could have helped in any way that you could, but he didn't choose to do that. But I wish I would have done that, even if it was just for like the younger two. You know what I mean? Not saying that would have made a big of a difference, but anything probably would have helped. But I had always told myself I wouldn't take him for child support. And that's how to tell my daughter. She didn't want to do it. I said, please take your dad for child support. I mean, if you're not together. You know what I mean? Because she didn't want to do it. She's like, I'm not doing that. I'm like, you saying that now, but the money will come in handy later on, trust me. And now I know she's glad she did it.
Can you speak a little bit to your mindset? Because that's not a mindset that a lot of women are carrying. Like, oh no, I don't want to take him for child support. I mean, me speaking specifically, I got hit with it a week after we separated, I swear.
Um, I don't know, cause I just felt like that. I just felt like we shouldn't do that. I don't know. I just felt like that I shouldn't have to ask you to do what you know is yours. I feel like that out of my heart. I don't know. My heart just feel like I don't like to ask people for stuff. You know what I mean? Especially when I know that that's what you should do. Something I probably still struggle with, but I really feel like that the responsibilities if anyway happen. Like I shouldn't have to have somebody else tell you to help me take care of your kids. Like that they've being well taken care of. So anything would help. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
I always tell people a present dad doesn't make you a good dad. And I used
Mm.
to think that because you was there. A present dad doesn't make you a good dad. You know what I mean? So definitely when I first got married, my grandmother told me that I was making the biggest mistake of my life, right? And I don't want to say it was a mistake because I have 4 beautiful kids, but when I tell you that that's the only thing I got out of my marriage was 4 kids is literally what I got. 4 kids, right? 4 beautiful kids, that's it. But I don't really feel like that, and I don't regret it. I don't regret it because I didn't even want any kids. I didn't want no kids growing up, and I have 4, right? So,
Hmm.
but I wouldn't say they were mistakes, but I definitely would say that my grandmother told me that I was making a big mistake with this person, right? And so when people say when they're older, when you kind of tell, like that's why I kind of gravitate to older people because they're wiser, right? They're wiser. So she saw something that I didn't see, and so yeah, so
Hey, sometimes we got
definitely
to
a less,
travel that
definitely.
path.
Yes, you have to.
Yeah.
And I've learned that I've learned that as being a parent that, even with my own kids, when I try to tell them about their relationship, sometimes I have to like fall back because I say sometimes you just gotta live life to find out. You know what I mean? Even though we try to protect them, I've learned that sometimes you just gotta let them see because just like I was, you're not gonna understand unless you live it yourself. So yeah,
Hey,
so
Ashman and I talk about that every week because I mean, you know us both well, and you know that I have kids in a different, totally different age bracket than he does. And almost every episode, there's some reference to having adult kids, learning to stay in your lane,
mhm,
how difficult it is.
right,
And particularly when you see, and that's my next question, when you see them, some of the patterns that were in your life, and you begin to see those in your children's life. And
right.
so it's interesting when you said, "Hey, no CS, no child support for you," but you
Mhm.
went to your daughter and say, "Look, you need to do that." Did she take your advice and speak to what it's like having adult kids?
So definitely. So, you know, because I didn't want my daughter to, so just like my grandmother told me about my husband. So when my daughter started dating her baby's father, I was just like, I just knew this person wasn't, and I think I had this conversation with Lashman before that this was not the man for her, right? And she was like, "Mommy, I'm not going to be the third baby daddy. I mean, the third baby mama." I said, "Okay." And she's the third baby mama, right? And so, but I don't throw that in her face because she's a good mom, right? But I knew that this person was not going to be the person that she that she wanted or she thought that he would be, right? As a father, as a person. And yeah. So when their relationship went to an end and she had to go, had go to the courthouse, whatever, and had her little situations going on, I said, make sure you apply for child support. And the lady tried to, she's like, no. And the lady said, because if you go back and do it again, you're gonna have to pay. So you might as well make this one fee and pay for everything all at once. And yeah, so she went in and took that advice. And then she getting child support, that's another story. But she did apply for it. She was getting it for a little bit, then it stopped. Because I guess, you got to keep a job to pay child support. That's a whole
Hey,
other story. But she did take that advice. So when he does work, she'll get it.
hey, Demita, what do you think that men don't understand about the financial impacts when they leave? So you see your daughter experience it, you experience it. I don't know if you felt that from your mom's situation, and her husband, if they were married, your dad. What don't you think men get about like how what falls down on ladies when they don't step up to the plate or when they roll out?
So, well, for one, I think mothers all we're naturally nurturers, right? And so we nurturers, so we naturally do things. I don't feel like no, like we say a parent, like I gotta ask the father to watch them, but they're in the same house because the mother just automatically is just assume. I feel just to do everything, right? I just feel like the mother's gonna do this, the mother's gonna do that, and Lashley was pretty much the only guy that I know that does motherly things, right? Literally everything. A schedule, packed a lunch. I feel like fathers just ought to soon do that. But I understand from other relationships that men have different roles because, have roles, right? So I'm not gonna really say roles. Yeah, you got like you take out the trash, the wife wash the dishes, right? And so I just think that m- men just really feel like that everything is just for mothers to do. Mother's gonna figure it out. I don't even think they think. I don't think my ex thought that. I don't know. I don't know about other people, but I don't feel like I feel like my experience was he didn't think about anybody. I feel like he was very selfish. Um, very selfish. Didn't think about nobody but himself. but that's who he really was. So I think that it's important when you get in relationships to know them, right? Get to know how they were brought up, how they were raised, with their belief, all that before you really get into a relationship. But I learned that with growth once I got older. So I got wiser. But when I was younger, I didn't do that because my mom, and my dad weren't together. My dad was in my life. I don't remember my dad being in my life until I was 13. Now, if he was in there before that, I don't honestly remember, right? But I can remember when I was like 13 years old, and he's been in my life ever since, right? But I just don't remember him before that because him and my mom didn't have because of my mom, the guy my mom was dating, they didn't get along, so it didn't cause them to couldn't have a relationship, right? So I don't remember my dad actually being present in my life until I was like 13, because my mom was dating this guy for like 13 years. I think I was like 6 months old when she started dating him.
Oh wow.
So they had divorced when I was like 6 months old. Um,
Wow.
so so I just think there's some men, not all men, but I think some men are just like selfish. Like they don't think about yeah, that was my experience. He was very selfish. That was my experience.
You said some very interesting things there, and I'm a big advocate for men.
Right.
We've had those conversations before,
Right.
and I'm probably jaded because of how I view myself and the men
Right.
that I surround myself with. I
Right.
see I see drastically different things. So my question to you is: do you think your perception of men has been jaded based on your experiences in your relationships?
Hold on. Let's rephrase that. So do I think my experience with men or just that man?
So, well, maybe yeah. Well, let's take that man.
So, well,
let's
that
take
man, like, no, I know from moving forward. I know I've never met. From what I've been through, I would never allow myself to. Uh, I'm not gonna say standards, but I just have a low tolerance for certain things. So,
Mhm.
yeah. So, not that I because I work so hard to be. I don't. So, let me see how I'm gonna say this right. I don't because of my experience with him, I look at men differently, right? So
Okay.
for me to tolerate certain things is an absolute no. An absolute no. I'm not dating no
Mhm.
man that's sitting up there playing no video games. I'm not right. Like I have standards. Like I'm not about to date no man that have time to play video days all day and I'm working 3 jobs. No, we're not doing that. I don't want a man to take care of me. I want a helper. Right. And so I don't believe that a marriage should be or a relationship should be all female or all male. I think that it could be 50-75 or whatever. They can help each other out, but I don't feel like that. Um, yeah, I don't feel like that, but I would like to have, but I don't want a relationship that's someone that just going to financially just take care of me and I'm not going to do absolutely nothing. If that makes any sense. Like I want to
Mhm.
still live a life, maybe just one job, maybe, but not three. One job and yeah, do some normal stuff like go on vacations and do some nice things, right?
Right.
Um, I don't. So I. So for instance, if I'm at work and part-time job and the guy talking to me and he riding on the metro, no, we can't have a conversation. We can't have one.
Whoa, whoa, whoa,
I'm
wait.
not. I'm not picking a person up.
My
So
man, my man on the green line. Hey, my man on the green. He like, look, you seen these gas prices? I'm
right,
economical.
right. If you're not catching the train to work, buddy, we can't talk. You got to be have a vehicle. You got to be like me. Your car got to be parked at some subway station. Look,
But
like got to
no,
be
I understand. I understand it because you work so hard, and
You
you
right,
do.
hold, like you said, you've held down 3 jobs, an entire house by yourself for so long. You want a man that's at least on your level
right,
because of how hard you work, and
right,
that makes sense. That
right,
makes
Yeah,
sense.
right,
yeah.
right.
I get it. I'm playing with you, playing with you, D. I'm getting it. But hey,
Right.
you jokers on the green line,
And you
you
know
better
that,
step up, step your game up.
and you know that lips got to be moisturized and their hands got to be moisturized.
Oh, and that everything got
That's
to be
that's a whole nother
moisturized.
card. Now you're giving away company secrets now.
Ooh, that
Okay,
was
can't
funny.
can't be dusty, and you better not have a fare card. There you
Right.
go.
I mean, you got a fair car, but you got to have a car parked at some train station to
you
pick it
got
up. Look, yes, yes. I'm not picking
you
up.
better not be going from the train to the bus.
Right, right, right. Not train to the bus. No, no, I can't do that. Sorry, I can't do that. I'm sorry.
That's saying this, but you are a hard worker, And what have you seen your uh, your children pick up from you? It's interesting that your daughter said she is not going to become X, Y, and Z, right?
Right.
And we know those family patterns are tough to break. And that's part of the reason why, Lashman and I do the podcast. We trying to reach into the future for a young buck who's 15 years, back from where we are and say, listen, there's another way that you can navigate. It does not have to be this difficult. You can do it better. Um, what do you think your daughter looks at you now and says, oh, Ma, I get it. I understand that wisdom you was trying to drop on me.
Yeah. So for my son, I think that he definitely is not going to date a female that's not doing anything at all, just not working, because he's seen as the mother do nothing but work. And for my daughter, she is actually doing really well. She moved out, even though I didn't want her to. She moved out with her son, and she's raising him by herself. So she's another single mom. So, but because I'm not gonna say because she didn't listen to me, but that's just the path that she chose. And those are the consequences. Like we had a conversation yesterday. She's like, I'm taking care of him all by myself. And I was just like, well, that's not my fault, right? I'm just saying that those are because of the choices that we made. So I don't really blame anybody for the choices that I made. I just had to work to provide for them because I chose to make this man their father. I chose to marry this person. So that's one reason why. Another reason why I didn't choose child support. You know what I mean? Because I sit back and look at it, I was like, this person is the same exact person he's always been.
Wow.
He didn't change, I changed, right? But I didn't see that. So as I got older and wiser, I saw he the same exact person. To this day, the same exact person. He's never changed. But I changed. So then I had to say, well, I can't really be mad and hate this person because that's who he was. You know what I mean? That's exactly who he was. And that's how I look at it now. Like he's the same exact person. The same exact person. So I can't get mad and say, because for a long time I literally couldn't stand him. I hated this man. Right? But then I had to look back like he the same person. I mean, what do you hate? This is exactly who he was. But you was okay with that. I was content with that at the time. Right? And so I just realized that I don't want to change, not him. So he was the same person.
Did y'all ever have conversations about co-parenting, like where, hey, your kids are, maybe you had younger kids and now they're moving into teenagers. I don't know the ages of all your kids when y'all split up, but
we
I
didn't even
get the
we
sense
didn't
that
even
some of,
we
I
didn't
get the
even
sense that some of y'all were, you didn't have any conversations about co-parenting or like a strategy for that.
No, so because my youngest daughter was the one that was closest to him, so she chose to stay with him for a little bit, and then she ended up coming back. But she was old enough to communicate for herself. My in-laws, we have a really good relationship. Like we still talk to this day. But to him, I don't talk at all. We don't communicate absolutely at all. I don't know if you want to call that bitterness, but I just don't feel like we have anything to talk about. And I feel like my kids are grown enough that they can talk for themselves. And I'm happy for that. Because I don't have anything to, communicate to him about. I'm not bitter. I just feel like I don't want to say I'm not bitter, but when they talk about him, it still irritates me. So I don't know that it still bothers me. Like my daughter called me the other day and she was telling me a story, and I was just like, oh my gosh, he's always been a bum. And I still said it, even though I said I was gonna stop talking about it. I clearly just said it. So I mean, I did. I'm like, nothing. This is who your dad is. You're 30 something years old now, so you're 30. He's the same person. And even they probably was looking for change, right? And so when they get disappointed, that disappoints that bothers me. And so I divorced him, thinking that I wouldn't feel anything anymore. But when my kids feel a certain way, I still feel it. I still feel it. And so when they feel something, I feel it, and that just makes me mad all over again. So that's why I don't like to just hear about them. But yeah, that's another topic. Because I said I wasn't gonna really talk about them, but I don't talk about it. I just don't want to hear about them. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't have anything. I don't have anything positive really to say about him at all. I don't have anything good to say, but I don't have anything positive to say about him. No, he is who he is, and he has to live with that. Um, he'll live with it when it's his time. But he the same person, same exact person that he was when I got married in 1989.
Wow.
Yeah. I graduated in 87. I got married in 1989. And so that's one of the things too about my adult kids. I didn't want them to rush into things. Me and my mom we had a good relationship, but I wanted to get out the house. right? Think you want to be grown, get out the house. So I got out the house, I got married. I couldn't stay with my in-laws and not be married. So I'm not gonna say I like rushed in to get married, but I did rush in to get married. I didn't really have a life. I didn't really have a life. I got married right out of high school, 2 years later, right? So I didn't want my kids to grow up like that. I wanted them to become financially stable, do whatever they find their careers, do whatever they want to do. And that's why I was kind of disappointed. I wasn't disappointed with my daughter, but I was kind of like expecting better for her when she ended up getting pregnant with her. And she thought I wasn't happy for. It wasn't that I wasn't happy for, her, but I just knew that this person that she had a baby by was not going to be the man that she wanted, that she thought he was. Like she traveled the world. I mean, was doing everything, traveling, even though she still travels because I'm the baby daddy pretty much now. The grandmother, I'm the baby daddy. So now I'm the baby daddy, right? So, but financially, she take care of her daughter. I mean, take care of her son. But I just feel like that came with, I just think I kind of just grew up too fast, and I didn't want my kids to do that. And they kind of like, so I believe we had these conversations before. I think how when a house, how kids how they're raised in their surroundings. So that's kind of why, like, I have my granddaughters and my grandkids, try to keep them close because I know what it's like out here, you know? So I don't want them to feel like they need to go find something or find love or have to do this to get certain things, right? So that's another reason why I work the way I do.
Mm.
I know that conversation went left, didn't it? Because I don't know where that came from, but
No, it's all beautiful. It's all beautiful stuff.
Not at all.
Yeah,
Not at all.
yeah, yeah. So I want to touch on something that you had said a couple minutes ago. There's this concept out there of, you know, making sure children don't hate the other parent with the custodial parents or the other parents' thoughts and opinions. So I can't allow my children to dislike their mothers based on my thoughts and opinions. How did you walk that tightrope because of the feelings that you had towards him?
I think just for one man, his mom kind of had like a good relationship, right? And so my mom and me didn't have a good relationship. I mean, I'm not saying we didn't have a good relationship. We had a relationship, but not the relationship that I yearn for, right? If that makes any sense. Um, so I really communicated everything that I was going through with her and my father-in-law, like what he was doing that bothered me, and just anything that was driving me absolutely crazy. And they was just like, we're gonna have a talk with him and blah blah blah. And then I had friends, right? And then as I got because I didn't get divorced for a while. I separated from him, but I didn't legally get divorced because I didn't want to pay for it. Right. So, like by this time I probably was working, had met friends, and I seen other relationships and, just talking to different people. Even, I mean, by the time, man, you was talking, I had been divorced, but it took me a while to pay for that because I felt like I didn't want to pay for it because I've been paying for everything all my life. And plus I was paying for everything. As far as with the kids financially, I was like, I can't even afford to pay for a divorce. And I think it was just like $169 or $70. Or I couldn't even afford to pay for that. But I made sure I eventually paid for it. But I just feel like just as I got older and wiser, and then just talking to different people with not the same, but just married older people, and just talking. Uh and just once I start working and doing it, was just easier for me to just to let it go. Like for the peace of mind, right? Basically for the peace of mind. My sisters definitely were a help because they allowed me to leave and come stay with them until I got myself together to get on my feet to move somewhere else. So it wasn't for them. But I didn't really share too much of my relationship with them. I just shared that I needed to leave. And she opened her house and told me I could come. Right. When I told her I need to move, my older sister, she didn't even know that I was leaving him. She was like, does he need to come too? And I
Mm.
said, no, I'm leaving him. Right. But
Mhm.
she would have was even extending an invitation to him. But I said, no, I'm leaving him. So yeah, because I didn't like communicate with my family like that. But now we like in a different space. Because when you're going through stuff, you just don't you just want to keep it in.
Mm.
All right.
Yeah.
So
It's interesting that you were able to maintain such a tight relationship with his parents, even when y'all had so much friction, and even to the point where like, okay, he would do something and you would be able to go to his parents and say, yo, he's really messing up, and they're like, oh, okay, well, I'll speak to him, that's not the dynamic in every family. That really, lines get drawn. We talk about it all the time. Lines get drawn when relationships start breaking up. And so kudos to you and your in-laws for being able to be there in that way for one another, even when things weren't going well.
Right.
um
Yeah, I tell people I had the best mother-in-law. Like, 'cause I heard some mother-in-law stories, but I had some good in-laws. I definitely did.
yeah.
Too bad their son ain't take after them, but anyway.
Hey, hey, 30 years later, 30 years
Jasmine.
later, still throwing kidney shot.
Right. Mm-mm.
Hey, but you're a soldier, Demeta. Lashman and I can both attest to your work ethic. You are one of the hardest working people that we know. And you still keep it light. And let me go back to the comment you made about you're the baby daddy for your granddaughter or
Right, that part.
granddaughter, grandson.
Right.
We have never heard that in our travels on the podcast, but all kidding aside, you do play the role of like the additional parent to a lot of your grandchildren. I mean, I don't know how you do it with all the jobs you have, and then you talking about you did this, you swept four up, and then they was at the house for the weekend, and I was like, yo,
Then you drove
okay,
500 miles to the east and then
I
500
did.
miles to the
right,
I
right, right,
did.
west.
right.
I did.
So speak to how you decided, because every grandparent doesn't get involved to that level. They love their grandkids, but they're not the baby daddy, right?
Right, I
Um,
can't do that. I be trying, I can't do it. So with my grandson, one by my daughter I was telling you about, she always say my mom is my baby daddy because she got to call me before she can make plans, like to see if I can keep him so she can do something, or she want to go out of town, or if she want to go, to anything, appointments, or therapy, whatever she may do. So that's why I say I'm her baby daddy. Now for my other older grandkids, two of them, their father passed away, but I was their baby daddy even. So yeah, I just feel like I do a lot for my grandkids. I feel like my first it was my kids, now I feel like they're my grandkids are my kids pretty much.
mhm.
I don't know. I think it's just the nurturing part of me. I don't know, like the nurturing part. Um, I don't yeah, I just want to make sure they're good, right? Because like working in the field with kids and education, I feel like you lose your kids, right? You lose them, and I don't want to lose my grandkids, right? So I try to stay involved much as possible. And if they're not happy in a situation, or I just know how it is to have like a peace. I just know how things will go if the environment is just different, right?
Yeah.
If you're in the most peaceful environment, I know that makes a difference. You can't really in chaos. You can't. It's going to be chaos. So my oldest granddaughter spends a lot of time, most of her time with over here with me. And I do a lot of traveling because she goes to school all the way on the other side of the world, and then I work on the other side. I just ask God for strength because don't get me wrong, I be tired a lot of times, but I just ask God to continue being a blessing to me so I can be a blessing to someone else, right? And so as long as, because my struggles I went through, I was sick and I'm recovering. I'm healed now, but it'd be 5 years. It'd be 5 years next July. So I feel like God is good to me, so I want to continue being good to someone else. And I just feel like even though I'm tired, I just feel like it's going to pay off. I just look at the brighter picture. I just look at the big picture. I want them to be productive, and then I can sit back and like, because my prayer all the time was for my kids to be self sufficient, take care of themselves, become self sufficient. You know what I mean? Pretty much self sufficient, and I need my grandkids. So I'm just kind of like recycling itself, right?
And it's beautiful.
Yes. Well, I have one more question for you, and this one's maybe a little bit out of left field. But and then Burgess might have a question for you too before we wrap up here. And that question is the concept of a single mother versus a single woman. Now you hear like I don't know if you've heard people like, oh, you're not a single mother because the baby daddy's involved, your
Mm,
family's involved, this
uh,
is involved. You're just a single woman. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
what is my thoughts on the single woman with kids?
Well,
Um,
yeah, it's a single mother. The concept of being an actual single mother, like no baby daddy involved or no
mm,
ex involved,
mm.
versus the concept of well, he is involved, so you're not actually doing this solo. So you're just a single woman. You're just not
Single
not
woman. Right.
yeah.
So I never really heard that concept, but I never really heard that concept. But you mean an active dad, but you're single, they're just not in the same household, but you're
Yeah.
active in the child's life.
Yeah.
Um, I never experienced that, but I think that'd be pretty good. I mean, I
Yeah,
never
I'll take
experienced that.
it. Right.
Yeah, I never
I'll
experienced
take
it, but I would love to. I think that it's good that people could have that, but that just never was my experience.
Okay.
Maybe because
Fair enough.
yeah, because he was present, but I feel like just because he was present, he wasn't there. Because I don't know what's even worse, right? Being present and there, or being present and not there, right? So, like as far as present, to take them to football practice, basketball practice, and be doing all that. But to me, I don't know. I just feel that, like I told you, a present dad don't make you a good dad. So it depends on how present and what are you doing.
Mhm.
When I know the other fathers are very involved in their because I just feel like the two parents are just a co-parenting, right? You're co-parenting. I just look at it as co-parenting, doing a good job of co-parenting. I don't look at it as like a single mom, and because if you're single mom, I feel like you're co-parenting. Because if the dad is involved and he's doing stuff and he's getting the child, I feel like that's co-parenting. I don't feel like that's
Mhm.
considered a single mom, or that's how I look at it. I feel like it's just good co-parenting, right?
Enough. I agree. Yes,
I
I
think it's
agree.
co-parenting. And if you're not I feel like it's co-parenting. And in my daughter's situation, I feel like she's a single baby mom, a single mom. That's how I
Mhm.
look at it. Um,
Mhm.
but if the dad is involved and they pick up and drop off, like I learned a lot from you, Lashman. I've been knowing you for a long time. Not to go back on the story, but just how you were and the man that you became. And I've been knowing Dove too, from the overalls and everything. I value our relationship. You understand what I'm saying? I value our conversations. We've had some really good conversations. I value your opinion. I sit down. I miss working with you all because boy, you know I be having stories, but I miss just to get your point of view, so you could tell me right from wrong, or how you feel about it, and how you just actually sit there and listen to every word patiently, right? And then you come back with your opinion, or how you, and I miss that. So I learned a lot from you all. You understand? Like I learned from you how to co-parent. Like it's not even just to deal with my kids, but their relationships, not co-parents. How you deal with your marriages and your children's mom, and how the person you become. You like, I just did this, and how calm you were. I'm like, then how did you just be that calm, right? Like calm, right? How do you respond that way? Like you didn't never let your emotions, right, get the best of you. And I think that's kind of important with my daughter and her baby daddy. Like their emotions right now are just they don't know how to control their emotions, right? I'm not saying nobody's right, I'm not saying anybody's wrong, but they need their emotions still are in control, and they're not looking at like the big picture. You understand what I'm saying? They're not looking at who's really being affected by that. Because I really believe that the parents should be involved in their kids' lives, because I feel like you can tell as kids, even just in just being around kids that don't have their parents involved in their life,
Mhm.
right? So I think that's important. But sorry, that's what
No, that's
I
great. I
think it's
mean,
co-parenting.
yeah, I just, we just appreciate your wisdom, because you've been in the trenches for a quarter century and on multiple levels, right? And so, I mean, you
That
have.
part.
So I just have one other question to close out. Now that you are a grandmother, um,
Mhm.
share one piece of wisdom that you give to your grandkids? Now they're still kind of young. I mean, you have some that are, right at that age where, they're aware of, boy girl relationships, stuff like that. But what are some of the things? There's certainly goals you have for them and things you hope, a path you hope that they take. What are some of the nuggets of wisdom that you drop on your grandchildren, so that they can have a different, maybe outcome than you and your daughters and your mom expect?
So that's part of the reason why I do what I do, as far as picking her up, taking her to school. My oldest one, because she's like her grades, and she's so on task, and she's so bright, and I want her to, um, I want her to have a better life than I had, right? So I want her to. I try to keep an open relationship with her, communicate with her, but she's 15 now. Um, I can hear little conversations where little people be, like the peer pressure part, and so I feel like this is like the the best time that you gotta just keep them like tight, right? Do you like hear a little sidebar conversation with the kids talking and why you can't do this and why you can't do that? So I just try to just keep up, just keep them close and communicate, have conversations. Let them know if you can't talk to me, you can talk to your aunts. Just communicate, just have conversations, just leave the floor open. One problem I guess sometimes I just gotta listen a little bit better and just stop. You know, I gotta just sometimes I'm working on that part, but they know it's in a good, all is in a good spot. It's all in a good place. But I just try to just keep them close and just let her know you need anything, just being there for her, um, just being there. Cause if I didn't have that. You know what I mean? I didn't have a person that I feel like that I could be this. So I just try to make sure I'm there for her. Everything that I yearn for, I try to make sure I did exactly for my kids. I try to make. I know I want to be their best friend, but I'm their mom too. But they know they can talk to me about anything, right? And I think that's important that you be able to talk. My mom wasn't a bad mom, and I just realized she just did the best that she could. But she knew. So I'm trying to do the best that I know. Like I know my kids probably could do a little bit better than me, but I feel like the things that I yearn for as a young lady, as a young, I made sure that I was there for my kids. I wanted my kids to make sure I loved them. Not saying my mom didn't love me. I just feel like some people just don't know how to show certain things, right? And so I make sure that I do everything that I wanted. I make sure that my kids and grandkids like, don't experience what I wanted. So
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yes, it is. All right. Well, thank you so much for all your insights, your wisdom, and as B said earlier, your vulnerability and just opening up and sharing things so authentically and honestly, as we knew you would anyhow.
get my daughter on it. Get my daughter on it.
I'll reach out to her. We'll see what she
And
says.
and then get her baby daddy on here.
That might be
Hey,
a little harder of a
that's
reach, but
Look,
we'll
secret
do our
secret core.
best.
he
Yeah,
needs
well,
he needs to be around some men. I don't think he had men in his life like you guys. I always say that. I think that he needs men in his life like or someone in his circle that he can talk to that's been through this, right? That been through. And I really think that I be saying that all the time. I'm like he need to look at this baby daddy thing. Like I be on there. I ain't even a baby daddy, but I be looking at the podcast.
Hey,
He need
we
to be on
hey,
appreciate
I
the
think
support.
most of our listeners are women.
it. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Thank you again. Oh, but we should bring you back on for some other stories because I know you have some more things that you would love to say and tell.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, but until next time, I'm John,
Kelly,
and that was Demeta Snowden.
See you later.
peace.
Peace.
Peace.